Hello everyone. Today I want to dedicate my first song to something which I think has captivated a lot of our attention this past couple of weeks. I'm talking about, of course, about the great big boat that just couldn't, the Ever Given. And as it continues on its way, I want to dedicate this song about exploration and a bright and beautiful future. Every day the world begins again, sunny skies or rain, come and follow me. Every sunrise shows me more and more, so much to explore, come and follow me. Every morning, every day, every evening, calling me away. While the sun goes round, I'll still be found, following the sound, something's calling me. When the world goes drifting back to bed, memories in my head, wonders follow me. Every morning, every day, every evening, calling me away. Every morning, every day, every evening, calling me away. Every day the world begins again, sunny skies or rain, come and follow me. Every sunrise shows me more and more, so much to explore, come and follow me. Every morning, every day, every evening, calling me away. Every morning, every day, every evening, calling me away. Fare thee well, little buddy. And now let me hand you over to your host, Adam Bailey.
Hello, everybody. And here's the thing about doing a talk show every other week is that sometimes the really big news story that you want to do ends up on the week that you're not doing the show. So 2 weeks ago, we end up with this big ass boat stuck in the middle of the Suez Canal. Everybody goes crazy for this story. It's all over all the talk shows, all over the social medias. Everybody gets to do their one, you thought your day at work was bad joke. And that was last week. This week, I get stuck with a return to mass shootings, a Republican sex scandal. Oh, and here's the worst thing of all. Joe Biden's dog, Major, bit another person at the White House. And this has turned into a real controversy. There's actually one news station out there that is calling for Major Biden to resign. Who asks for a cute puppy dog to resign from being the White House dog? What one news station could that be? It was Fox. It was Fox News. In other news, we have Pizza Hut joining forces with KFC to make this monstrosity, a KFC popcorn chicken pizza on top of a Pizza Hut deep dish grease pile. Putting this into context, all around the world right now, people are worried about taking the AstraZeneca vaccine because it may cause blood clots in a minority of people. Meanwhile, we're still allowing ourselves to eat food like this. Kristin and I actually tried to reach out to Pizza Hut to see if they had a comment, but we couldn't get in touch with them because they were too busy contacting Arby's to see if there was anything they had to put on a pizza. Oh, and another piece of news that we have here for residents of Ontario is we are back in another confusing as fuck lockdown thanks to Doug Ford. Now, for those people who are not from Ontario and watching this show, you may wonder what is confusing as fuck about a lockdown thanks to Doug Ford. Well, they have these press conferences where they like to tell us that a lot of things are locked down in our province, but schools are still open, stores are still open, but restaurants that were told they were going to be allowed to have their patios open suddenly had to have their patios closed. Haircutters, those aren't available, but golf courses are open because they're an essential service. As I said, it's a confusing as fuck lockdown with not that much lockdown, actually. Now, Ontarians are really complaining about the leadership of Doug Ford, but remember, this man used to be a petty drug dealer, and the only reason that he is premier of our province right now is because he rode the name brand recognition of his younger brother, Rob Ford, into office. And this whole family is known for their idiocy and incompetency. So you get what you vote for with the Fords. Now, there was a ray of light this week. Lil Nas X released a video entitled Call Me By Your Name. And oh man, it was fantastic. Lil Nas X gives this Satan a delightful lap dance before murdering him and taking over hell. It's the sort of thing that any gay person can really get behind. Now, of course, the evangelicals went and got really super offended by Lil Nas X giving this Satan a lap dance, and a whole bunch of people, specifically Gen Xers, went on the media, went on the Facebook to tell us all about how South Park portrayed a gay Satan and how Powerpuff Girls portrayed a gay Satan and how this is pretty normal shit. But really, do you know how Satan is portrayed on straight TV shows? Let's look at Satan on The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which just had its series finale on Netflix. That is one doable daddy Satan. Oh, and if one doable daddy Satan on Netflix isn't enough, what about Lucifer, the show that started on ABC and is now, oh my God, that guy is so fucking hot. I would give him a lap dance right now. These are the straight Satans that straight people are allowed to look at, and no one gets nasty about that. But Lil Nas X gives this Satan a lap dance, and people lose their goddamn mind. You want to know something? As a gay person, we are told our whole lives, if you grow up in a Christian household, about this place called hell. And we are told that we are committing like a sin just by existing that is going to send us to the fiery pits. If we want to choose to make art about going to hell and do it any way we want, we're 100% entitled to. So 3 cheers for Lil Nas X. Go and watch this video, Call Me By Your Name. It's actually not half as bad as anyone is making it out to. Like it should not be controversial. In other gay news, Larry McMurtney passed away this past week. And this man is the person who wrote the screenplay for Lonesome Dove and several other Westerns, including Brokeback Mountain. Now, Larry McMurtney is straight, and if you're surprised to find out that a straight man wrote Brokeback Mountain, then you never took notice of the lack of lubrication in the Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal love scene, because no gay man would have written that scene with that little lube. Before we leave the monologue today, I do have to bring up one other thing that happened this week, which is the trial for the murder of George Floyd started in the States this week. Of course, the death of George Floyd is the incident that sparked the Black Lives Matters protest that dominated our lives last summer. And paying attention to this trial, it just struck me that George Floyd was executed for trying to use a $20 bill that was a counterfeit. And you know, I was a waiter for 10 years, and I would frequently end up with counterfeit money in my tip out. And whenever I tried to use one of those counterfeit 20s at a convenience store and they caught it, they would either cut up the 20 or even hand it back to me. As a waiter, I was discouraged from looking to see if the bills were counterfeit when people paid me, to not hurt their feelings. The fact that someone called the police because someone was using a counterfeit 20 just blows my mind. And it's a big reminder, I think, for the rest of us that when you call the police, you are calling someone who has weapons on them and who is prone to violence to try and resolve a conflict for you. And perhaps they're not the first people you should be calling. And for anyone who's ever found a 20 in their pocket that has turned out to be counterfeit, and you have had an incident where it's been returned to you or ripped up for you, maybe think about your privilege a little bit, and hopefully George Floyd's family and the community in the States get some justice for this horrific crime. But with that, I'd like to welcome Kristin Mueller-Heaslip back to our screens. We have a wonderful show today. We have Martin Dockery joining us. He's a fabulous storyteller, internationally renowned. And we have Daniel Krolik, our first ever return guest from Bad Gay Movies Equal Bitchy Gay Men.
Yeah, very exciting. Happy to have them both here. How are you doing today, Adam?
Well, I think everyone's having a little bit of a glum day. We're back in lockdown here in Ontario. It's kind of gray and rainy. How are you?
I'm okay, about the same, but you know, it's like we're in about the same state of what I've been seeing people call it a mockdown here in Quebec, where it's like, oh no, it's lockdown, but you can still do all this stuff. It's like, but
lockdown, but the stores are open and the schools are open.
Yeah, they closed the schools in Quebec City and a couple other places that have had really huge spikes and outbreaks, but Montreal schools are still open. You can still go and buy a pair of shoes or whatever. It's I'm a little bit hopeful because they're having a big serious lockdown in France right now, and Quebec politics tend to follow French politics more than anything else. I don't know why.
I do.
It's because they still really, really, really wish that they were New France. Anyway, it's fine. So maybe that will spur some kind of action, but yeah, same old, same old. But I think we have a couple things to discuss here, including a grave injustice that has been done to some of our I know, my personal heroes and yours.
Yeah. And I saved this story for you, Kristin. Prince William named world's sexiest bald man. Internet demands justice for Stanley Tucci.
I know. Do you know how the methodology of this study? Do you know how this was done?
How?
They literally just looked how many times Prince William had been called sexy in news stories or on the internet, including times before he was bald.
I mean, he was good looking before he was bald, but that loss of hair, bald men are sexy unless you're Prince William. It's actually a backfire on him. But I wanted to get your opinion on some different sexy bald men. Your honest opinion. I lined them up. I don't know if you've looked at these yet, but let's look at some of these sexy bald men that could have been sexier than Prince William had this study been done accurately. Okay. So, Kristin, are you ready to judge Stanley Tucci?
Stanley Tucci, I know people think he's very sexy because they watched his kind of sexy cooking show, which I haven't seen. I don't know. My association with Stanley Tucci is all of the movies in which he played kind of like a dork in the 80s and 90s. So I wish him well, but he's not particularly my thing. However, still sexier than Prince William. So I'm going to give him a solid 7.5.
You're giving them a number rating. Wow. Yeah. Okay, 7.5 is Kristin's stamp of approval on Stanley Tucci. I'm assuming that's out of 10 and not 100. Yes. Let's go to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I mean, look at those stats there. That's very commanding. He's very, very fit. However, if you've ever found this goes around on the internet every now and then, he has this his fitness routine and diet, which are pretty weird. So I think you maybe wouldn't want to date The Rock because you would end up eating an entire cod for dinner or something every day. So I'm going to give him, I would give him a 9, but I'm going to dock him 0.5%, 0.5 for just being high maintenance. So 8.5.
8.5 only due to high maintenance. The thing I like about The Rock is a lot of people don't find muscle guys that sexy. It's a very niche thing, but I think The Rock elevates it so that everyone's like, no, those muscles are fine. These are the muscles that we all, and because he has the face and he can make fun of himself.
Yes, he is actually he's not a bad actor, and he does his own singing in Moana, and he's pretty good. I have to say, like you'd think, like who did the voice for The Rock? Oh, The Rock did the voice for The Rock. I was impressed. So
Okay. So here's our next one. Patrick Stewart, who actually was voted World's Sexiest Man once by People magazine. So
yes, Sir Patrick Stewart. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and I would say Sir Patrick Stewart of the Next Generation era, I would give 10 out of 10. However, he's a million years old. He's very well preserved, but he is like 84 or something like that. So I think of him more in like, you know, a kind of non-sexy grandpa way. But I'm going to give him for his perfect beauty otherwise. He's one of these weird people who did for a while got much sexier as he got older, like young Patrick Stewart, not very good looking, but like middle-aged or like late middle-aged-ish, he was very foxy. So I'm going to say, let's say I'm going to give him only 11 instead of 12.
Wait, he's gone past 10. He's now,
well, yes.
He's the Spinal Tap of sexy bald men.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Wow. That doesn't give our next one that much hope. I thought, what if you could take the best features of The Rock and Sir Patrick Stewart and like mash them together? And what I got was Mr. Clean. So
Adam, so I worry about you sometimes. You know, a few weeks ago, you were talking about how you would go out with the Q shaman if you could.
I did say if he wasn't here, I said his body. If I met him at a club and didn't know who he was, like, obviously, I'm not like, if I could, now that I know who he is, I'm going to go after him.
Yeah, but the weird uncanny valley he's like, no, I don't want to make out with a Pixar character like he does. And like, I see how you've highlighted his butt right here, but like that's not a good butt to waist ratio, right? He looks like he's like got a muffin top or something like that, and there's nothing wrong with a muffin top, but you just need bigger pants if you've got a muffin top. So I think Mr. Clean, I'm not going to rate him because he's obviously got some self-esteem issues.
Okay. Wow. So he doesn't even get so Patrick Stewart is the winner. He's the Spinal Tap of sexy bald men. Followed closely by The Rock. Stanley Tucci is your third. Prince William is your nerd, and just.
And Mr. Clean also is just not real, and it's not. I would say I don't look at that and think,
Okay, so that was our Kristin Mueller-Heaslip judging sexy bald men, and it's time for our next thing, which is predicting the future. Yes. Do you have any predictions for the future based on where we are right now?
Oh, well, I was really hoping. Here, let me show the slide so people know what we're doing. Kristin and Adam predict the future. One of these days I'll write a theme song for that. You know, I did have a lot. You and I talked at length about the whole boat story, and I dedicated that song at the beginning to the boat. And I was really hoping the boat would still be stuck. I don't know why. It's not good that the boat was stuck. It's good that the boat was unstuck. But also, I have this like weird feeling of like love and protectiveness for the boat, and I just want it to be happy. So if it wanted to be stuck in the mud, I say let it. I don't know. Maybe a plane will get stuck in a cloud. How about you?
Okay, yeah, Kristin, you're drunk. You're drunk on sexy.
I wish I were. I
need to give you some cool down time, Kristin. I think that's a good cue for us to bring out our first guest. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Martin Dockery. Please put your hands together at home. He is a internationally renowned storyteller. He joins us from Montauk, New York. You might have seen him at the Fringe. Martin Dockery, how are you?
Oh, I'm feeling a mix of enthusiastic and anxious, which is just the way I've felt every day for a year now.
For a year. Now you, people may have seen you. You have a very successful touring career as a storyteller. You've been to cities across Canada, the US. A lot of it was based off of you as a traveler, your early work, traveling to Africa and where else?
I've been to a lot of countries, but I haven't, like all of us, I haven't been anywhere in so long that like I feel like we're talking about someone else. You know what I mean? Like I yearn to go traveling to wherever. It doesn't matter. Like only place I've traveled to is the supermarket, and like that's not a joke. That's not a joke. I've been out here in Montauk, New York, the eastern tip of Long Island. I came here on March 30th, 2020. So I just passed a year out here, and as measured by the length of my beard, which I haven't shaved since I came out here.
I love the beard, by the way. That is a fabulous COVID beard.
Thank you. Speaking of which, you did this little like, who's the hottest bald man? Who's the hottest hairless man? Like, I hope that my picture makes it into whatever segment you do on who's just got way too much hair.
Who's the hottest, hairiest man? Okay,
who's the hottest, got too much hair guy?
The hottest man with too much hair. And we'll consider you for that.
The hottest guy who should get a shave and a haircut. Yeah.
No, you're doing shows on Facebook Live, but also you stash them on YouTube so people can watch them later. Tell us a little bit about what these shows are called and what inspires you, because you were traveling and now you're like in Montauk. What are these shows about, and why should we be watching these?
I mean, the reason you should be watching, and for no other reasons, certainly we're all running out of Netflix. So, and maybe we're also running out of, interest in highly produced, edited, large cast and crew productions. And we're looking for something that happens in real time, is live, and it's just me, which is to say no production values at all. For the first few months during this pandemic, like many people, I just was, I felt no urge to create anything, just sort of sat slack-jawed on my couch, wondering how bad things were going to get. And then sometime last August, I felt like the desire to try and reach out and connect. I'd never done Facebook Live in my life. I'd never even considered trying to do a show online. I'm not the most technically savvy person, and but I think that probably that could be said of all of us compared to who we were a year ago. And look at us now, Adam. Look at us. I'm speaking from my basement like it's nothing.
Like it's nothing. Like it's a normal thing. You're in a bunker. I have a painting behind me.
You got a painting behind you and some black and white picture of two people looking. I don't know what they're doing, but in any case,
Okay, so this I've never brought so this is a painting. And it's called Waiting for the Lake to Thaw. And I feel like it's the most Canadian thing that I've ever seen in my life. It's red and white colors, and it's two women barefoot staring at a lake with a beach ball and a bucket, just waiting for the lake to thaw. And I'm like, how much more Canadian ennui can you have?
I think metaphorically, that's what we've all been doing this whole year, is waiting for the lake to thaw. So in any case, last August, I was like, I want to try and connect to other people, surely, that are feeling like I'm feeling, which is to say, just sort of, stuck on the, like actually stuck, unable to go anywhere, and creatively and feeling isolated. And so I wanted to do a show not about like things that have happened in the past, not any kind of show I've ever done and toured to festivals, just do a show about like what's happening to me right now. And surely, though the details are of my own specific life, they will speak universally to how we're all feeling in our own lives. So the series is called Right Now. And then basically I've been doing an episode every month. So if you were to go to YouTube and type in Right Now and my last name, Dockery, you would see a list coming up saying Right Now August, Right Now September, Right Now October, and so on, all the way to the one I just did a couple days ago for March. And basically it's just like it's sort of like a real-time narration of our lives this past year. And as I said, specifically my little life, which is just me and my wife and my now 2 3/4-year-old baby, who, has spent half her life in lockdown now. And in so telling that story, like other people who are sitting alone in their apartments feeling like they're not so alone, that we have this exchange of energy and communication through this strange two-way mirror that is our devices. And though we can't really see each other and communicate with each other, we can feel our energy and our yearning there. And the shows hopefully tap into that and have some fun with it. have
I
a
think
sense of humor.
they're filled with your wit. They're filled with humor, observation, your poetry. You have a naturally poetic way of thinking, so that comes out when you speak, and it's definitely a treat that you come on into our lives once a month to give us one of your monologues, because you're a natural orator.
Well, thanks, Adam. That's very nice of you to say that.
Well, it's just the truth. Now, I want to get some of that natural oration and poetic thought with the news. Do you want to stick around and do the news with us?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'd love to.
Fantastic. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you to the side for 5 minutes while we bring out our next guest.
Awesome.
Who is Daniel Krolik. You might have remembered Daniel Krolik. He was on this show once already. He is one of the hosts of Bad Gay Movies Equal Bitchy Gay Men, and he has an Oscar special coming out shortly. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Daniel Krolik. Hello, Daniel. How are you?
Hi, I'm a recurring guest star.
You are. You are our first recurring guest star. What's been happening in your world?
I've been making, well, I can only speak for the last 10 or 15 minutes, but I've been making my own list of sexy bald men, because I did have some network notes for yours and Kristin's.
Okay.
Yeah, so first of all, I do want to take umbrage for Tucci's very low placement. 7.5 out of 10. Stanley Tucci, anytime, anyhow, anywhere.
Okay. Kristin and you are going to have a brawl over that one.
Especially if there's pasta involved. I find among the egregiously overlooked were Mike Coulter, Luke Cage.
Oh,
come on. And we were just talking about him before the show. Chris Maloney coming back to Law and Order.
Chris Maloney coming back to Law and Order, yes, and he is also nicely built. He is one of those men who sells a muscular body. Yeah.
Chris Maloney, preferably against the fridge that he humped during Wet Hot American Summer.
What about Candy Muse?
Come see, come saw. Although Candy Muse pulls off the short shorts.
Candy Muse pulls off the short shorts.
Absolutely. And my last addendum to the list would be Albert Finney and Annie.
Albert Finney and Annie?
Yeah, specifically the scene where Miss Hannigan tries to seduce him in the bathroom.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's a great addendum list for us to keep in mind.
But he has to keep the tuxedo on.
But he has to keep the tuxedo on. You're not someone who gets naked for these things. You're someone who does things with clothes on.
I'm very specific, especially after 13 months of not seeing too many live people. I have complicated issues about my body and other people's.
I've moved up a shirt size over this past year. It's embarrassing. But I'm getting okay with it. I'm the dad bod movement really helps me out with that one. Now
I hear the dad bod is having a rally downtown next Saturday afternoon. You should join.
Thank God we need a different rally. Like the anti-mask rallies are too much. We need rallies for other things. To invigorate our lives. Now you do have an Oscar special coming up, and I know that people love the Oscars, they love movies, but this year it seems like a lot of things are already going to be going to Nomadland. So I wanted to ask you a couple questions about the movies that didn't make the Oscars this year that you thought should be on people's watch lists.
Yeah, I tried to cobble together a list. And again, it's impossible to have perspective about what movies did and didn't come out during 2020 because we're all watching everything from home. So I don't know if I'm watching a 3-year-old movie on Netflix or I don't know if I'm watching a movie that would have been released in the theaters last year but got delayed. So it's an almost impossible year to have perspective on the best or the worst movies of 2020. But there's a couple titles that I feel like I could address my attention to. Dick Johnson is Dead, which is a documentary that's hanging out on Netflix. It's directed by Kristin Johnston, and her father was given a terminal diagnosis, and she spent the last months of her dad's life staging in studios, staging different fantastical ways that he might die. And she documented this process, and it's like really weird and funny, and sometimes it's really offensive, but it sort of destigmatizes all this, all the kid gloves that we have about when our loved ones die, and it's just the most joyous movie that I've seen in a really long time. And it was sort of mentioned in the documentary shortlist when people were talking, but I think it just missed it. But yeah, that's just hanging out on Netflix. I love The Assistant, which is a very small movie about a young woman who works for this Miramax style studio in New York and has to do all this mysterious covering up for her Weinstein-esque boss. And the young woman is played by Julia Garner, who, although I haven't seen Ozark, she got a lot of attention for that. She was also on The Americans. She was on Dirty John. I understand why the performance was overlooked because it's such subtle work, but you can see every microaggression that she receives sort of register on her face. And the movie takes place in one day. So it's like one day of her life at work. And you could see her just like getting progressively beaten down. And it's just this really, really specific performance that I loved. But also like it's too small and too subtle. So I could totally understand why Academy people didn't see it for what it was. There's also a Netflix British movie that I really loved. It's a horror movie called His House, about two African immigrants who are haunted by something resembling a ghost that may or may not be a ghost. Which kept me up for a few successive nights after that. And I think yeah, it's really cool. And the last one I want to draw attention to is I think Rosamund Pike just missed a nomination for I Care a Lot, which is now on Amazon Prime in Canada.
That is a great list. So Dick Johnson Is Dead, I Care a Lot for Rosamund Pike, The Assistants for
Julia Garner's
performance, and His House, if you want to not sleep for 3 or 4 days on Netflix. Those are fantastic options for everyone watching. And when can people hear your opinions on the actual Oscar movies?
We are recording next week, so it'll be my co-host Bill Antoniou and our special guest, Now Magazine's very own Glenn Sumi. We're recording next weekend, and the podcast should be out the following weekend. And right now, I am just frantically trying to play catch up.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your day then. So let's jump to doing the news. Do you want to do the news with us today, Daniel?
Why not? What else am I going to do?
Fantastic. Let's bring back Martin Dockery and Kristin Mueller-Heaslip. And it's time for us to do our favorite part of the day. This is a news segment.
It is, but before we get there, I want to remind everyone that you can always buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/this is a talk show. And I have one coffee giver to thank. Thank you, Vashti Hawkins, for buying me and Adam a coffee. And I will reiterate once again, whatever name you put in that box on ko-fi.com, I will read it on the air. So please be creative and make me say something ridiculous, as long as it's not, I don't know, a racial slur or a really bad insult. But yes.
Thanks, Mr. Goebbels, for the coffee.
Thank you, Little Nas X, for the coffee. So this is a news segment, and for anyone who hasn't done this before, what's going to happen is Kristin's going to bring up news articles that we found interesting over the week. She will describe what the news story is, and then I will pick either Daniel or Martin to start a round robin for us on that topic. And once we start to bore Kristin, she will interrupt us and put up the next news story.
All right, here we go. First story. Georgia man leaves job, gets final paycheck in 91,515 oily pennies. This is a story that could not happen in Canada because we don't have pennies anymore. But that's pretty much it. This man quit his job for what sound like very good reasons and had to wait a while to get paid. And finally, his boss delivered it in this giant amount of pennies because he's an asshole. And they're also filthy, so they have to clean them and roll them up in order to put them in the bank. So,
oh my God, Martin, this is your country. I have to bring it to you. You've got.
The first thing that strikes me is that this just seems like another reason to like get rid of oil, you know, because without oil it'd just be a bunch of pennies. Yeah, like I like pennies myself. So my reaction to this I don't know. I'm good at deluding myself that I'm rich if I have a large amount of like coins, particularly if they're vaguely gold colored. So I would be happy were this to happen to me, but I have never even really had a job. So I can't, there's nobody who's going to show up with a wheelbarrow of anything, gold or otherwise.
All right, Adam. So when we start paying our guests, let's remember that we will be paying Martin in pennies.
Yeah.
In a wheelbarrow.
Also, fun fact, 91,515 oily pennies was the working title for the pop song 99 Luftballons.
Daniel, what's the worst way that you've been paid for something?
In exposure.
Someone just exposed themselves to you. They were just like, "Hey, how you like this?" You're like, "I mean, it's not terrible, but
Yeah.
I could do with pennies."
And that was the last I heard from Albert Schultz.
Oh, too soon.
It's not too soon. It's not. It's been years.
Oh.
All right.
Anything else happening in the States, Kristin?
Yes. This is a great one. Capitol riot suspect wore "I was there" shirt when arrested. So I'm afraid I've forgotten the name of the gentleman arrested in the story. I'm sure you can look it up. But this is one of these cases where, you know how a bunch of people like would live stream or post selfies of themselves committing crimes as they attacked the US Capitol. This was one of those brain geniuses who did that. And also when the FBI came to his house to arrest him, he was literally wearing a commemorative t-shirt that said, "I was there, Capitol riot, January 6th, or words to that effect. So, and he said, "I don't believe I did anything wrong, so why wouldn't I?" That's basically what's going on there.
I hope that like the guy that was next to him at the Capitol riots was wearing an "I'm with stupid" t-shirt.
That would be appropriate.
And then all the arresting FBI agents put them on just for good fun too.
But my question is, I mean, if this guy printed out the t-shirt by himself, that would be one thing. But did he go to a novelty t-shirt printing place, give them the pattern before the 6th, and were like, "Hey, could you guys do this for me?"
No, because no one knew it was going to happen, right? It was obviously something he acquired after. The news story did not include how he got the t-shirt, I have to say.
Okay.
But I'm
sure... Because I'm just curious if there are some complicit t-shirt printers somewhere in the States.
I'm sure there are. No, but you can also get anything printed on a t-shirt online, right? You don't actually have to go to a shop. You can just order it. And I'm sure there are multiple people trying to make money off of these rubes by selling them print on demand t-shirts.
Yeah.
I want the plate. I want there to be like, you know, on CNN, that commercial where it's
like a Princess Diana plate.
Yes.
Like Princess Diana, or remember when they had the 9/11, like, and I'm like, who wants China based off 9/11? But you could get a beautiful plate.
Can you imagine like bringing your fiance over to meet your parents for the first time and they put out the 9/11 plates?
Yeah.
A special occasion, Daniel.
Yeah, my mom has never, not once, I keep begging her, not once has my mother ever used her 9/11 plates.
Yeah, commemorative t-shirts are one thing, but commemorative plates, that's really where it's at.
All right, well, leaving the States for the time being, we now have some news from Quebec, and I apologize for this graphic. It's kind of eye-murdering.
It's also very threatening.
Graphic design is my passion, Daniel. All right. This is this absolute king of a man. Quebec man steals police car as he's arrested for stealing another police car. This happened in the outskirts of Quebec City. They describe him in the story as a disorganized man, which must mean something else in French. Stole a police car, was chased for quite a long time until they used like one of those like spike strips to stop the police car which he'd stolen. They got him out of the police car. There was a struggle. He managed to steal yet another police car and drive off for a short time before they caught him again.
I mean, I hope all of this took place to Yakety Sax.
Yeah.
Well, you're from Quebec, Daniel. So is this a regular occurrence in Quebec? Is this the sort of crime sprees that happen where you're from?
I mean, I'm from Jewish Montreal, so we're rich ethnic people, so we can all afford to buy our own cars. So
well, there you go.
Yeah,
maybe a
like,
big.
It's like it's a great setup for like a prank show. You know what I mean? If you could orchestrate it where you arrest someone and then like accidentally, the prank is accidentally a running police car is left right next to where he's been arrested. and then have like another running police car next to wherever he ends up with that one. Then finally arrest him, put him in jail, and like accidentally leave the door open, but that jail's inside another jail. And then he has like, there's a duct that's left open and it leads to another jail.
And it's just like Ashton Kutcher with a bad mustache and a cop uniform.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
This is
Oh, no. If this is in Quebec, so it needs to be just for laughs gags.
Oh,
Right,
God,
so
that is a Just
finally-
for Laughs gag. Oh, no, there's going to be
Yeah.
so many Just for Laughs
The
gags.
only Quebecer I want to see host a live prank show would be Celine.
Celine Dion. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Yeah.
We all
No,
love
let's make it
Celine
happen.
Dion. She is our passion
are-
on this show.
We are unironic Celine Dion fans on this show.
I think everybody is. Yeah.
We
So
started off as
I don't know
ironic.
about everybody. I don't know about everybody. There's some people
well,
that just.
Martin, goodbye. We'll be
Yeah, I
turning
know.
off your camera
Sorry,
shortly.
guys. I don't know if my appearance gave me away, but not a big Celine Dion fan.
That's just because you don't know enough about Celine Dion. So
It's
we'll,
true. I do not know enough about her.
One day, Chris and I will
More-
sit you down and educate you on Celine Dion, and then you will become a true fan. Oh, more
That's right.
Canadian.
More Canadiana. Beaver wanders into Royal York TTC station. Not much more to this story. Royal York is, I believe, next to a river, or it's close to High Park. I don't remember. And yeah, so the subway station was emptied because a beaver was hanging out.
Also, I think all of us, Kristin has lived in Toronto. Adam and I are currently living in Toronto. Martin has spent a lot of time in Toronto. Has anybody ever used the Royal York subway station?
I have been there. I went there. I lived in Toronto for 20 years. I think
Yeah.
I went there once.
The Kingsway
to-
neighborhood is right there. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I don't know why the beaver wanted to leave the Kingsway neighborhood. They have an art house cinema there. They have
That's true.
beautiful restaurants. They have, lovely little stores. What was the beaver doing getting on the subway to leave such a fine neighborhood?
Yeah. Anything you want to add to where was the beaver going?
As Canadians, does this story just make you feel like almost too Canadian? Like it's too much, Or are you like, no, bring it on? He should be carrying a little satchel of poutine with him. Is there a limit which you'd be like, it's enough?
I mean, we do cringe when we talk about Canadian stuff too much as Canadians. Like we get that heebie-jeebie. Like we're aware of our own uncanny valley resemblance to Americans. So it's like what is this? Stop it! Just stop it. But beaver stories, no, we're fine with.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
The thing is, you don't frequently see beavers. Like they are there, but they're not. They're like in wetlands and stuff. So it's like It's not like you would normally see one. Though there are beavers in Toronto in High Park. But they're not something that you would see frequently. If you see an animal in the subway in Toronto, it is almost always a raccoon. And I again repeat my call to our audience: please send me cute raccoon videos because I miss raccoons. There are like no raccoons here.
I feel bad. Yeah. I imagine the beaver is down there like hopelessly trying to build a dam in the subway tunnel and having it just wrecked every 7 minutes.
Beaver is just trying to get to his shift at the Amazon warehouse because there is no paid sick leave. He's just trying to get to work, everybody. Yeah.
Poor beaver.
All right, well, moving on to more celebrity news. Madonna stole my body. Woman reveals photoshopped image posted to star's Instagram. So this woman posted this picture of herself. You can see my cursor going around it. I think it was like a really long time ago. It was like 2015 or 2016. Madonna borrowed it and put her head on it. Can you believe that? What the fuck, Madonna? Celine Dion would never do that. That's all I'm saying.
Celine Dion would never.
I don't believe it. And also, Madonna's 61, and there is nobody fitter than Madonna. Now, then, or ever. So why would Madonna go through the trouble of stealing somebody else's body?
But she did it. I mean, you can see the photos, right? Like there's ample evidence that she did this. But I don't know. I'm sure she has a social media team.
Did it not make over in the mid-90s? She did it to me a few times. Like, this is not surprising. And it was, Photoshop was in its infancy, so it looked terrible. It looked terrible anyway.
And the mid-90s was during like her Justify My Love years. So
I know.
That's a compliment to you, Martin.
Well, I was not attempting to have such a killer Madonna-worthy body. It just came to me naturally. I didn't want that. Now look at me. I'm happy with this. What I got here. No one's photoshopping me in. The Rock a few times.
When he wanted to tone down the musculature so that more ladies would find him attractive. He could over Patrick Stewart.
Adam, let Daniel talk.
I don't know how much help Madonna gets with her social media, because at the height of the COVID crisis, when everybody was releasing wash your hand videos, Madonna dropped this like very tone deaf video of her washing her hands in her London mansion.
Oh,
so
was
I
that the one where she
don't.
was in the bathtub.
Yeah, and she's like kind of singing along to Vogue. So I think in terms of social media, Madonna's fairly autonomous.
That's not a good thing. Boomers should not do their own social media. Just don't.
So again, she's more like me once again. I also, no one's doing my social media, and it's a little tone deaf at times.
All right, so we have a science segment we like to call News from Space, but all of them were different this week. So now we are going to have news from sex.
Can you still say it in a Muppet Show voice, please?
News from sex. All right, first of all, sex robot clones of dead partners created with 3D scans could walk in the near future. So sex robots looking like real actual people. And I love how they say of dead partners. That's not what this is going to be used for, guys. Let's not be naive. You can get a sex robot of anybody. And
because you need the DNA of the partner for them to do this.
No, they just need to look what they look like. You know, they just are. It's just art, right? They don't actually use DNA to like clone to do that. They're not actual clones. They're just robots. So, if you could have a sex robot of anyone, who would you have?
I think this applies that they have to
Stanley
be
Tucci, right?
They have to be dead, right? It's like just doing dead people. Like for necrophiliacs, I think we're talking this product will be sold.
No, I think they're meant to mimic live people, but you do you, Martin.
So we can finally get that Stanley Tucci sex robot for Daniel.
No, I think because I'm somebody who constantly struggles with body dysmorphia, body anxiety, hating my body. So I think I would force myself to get a sex robot of myself so I could learn to love and accept my own body.
Oh, well, there's a good use for a sex robot.
Is that masturbation still?
That's an excellent question.
It's just maybe for another time, but I wonder.
Doesn't all sex with a sex robot qualify as masturbation because it's a tool, not a person?
Particularly strange when it's like the dead version of you. It's like the half decaying dead you that you're masturbating with.
Also, like if you die when you're 90, would your partner get a 90-year-old version of a sex doll, or would like they go back in time to when you were your hottest?
Yes. Yeah. You know what? If you guys watch the Star Trek Picard show, spoilers, he becomes a robot at the end of it, and he's old man Picard robot, and he's like, if I ever die and my body is replaced by a robot, my consciousness is placed in a robot, please make it a robot of me when I was like 29 years old. Don't do it of like old, decrepit, worn down me.
Yeah, we all look our best at 29 specifically, so please, everyone, we want 29-year-old sex robots.
29-year-old sex robot. Okay, there we go. Deal. Settled. Sold. Gavel down. All right, next story. This is a new one. Literally, this apparently never happened before. First reported case of triphalia, or triple penis, in a human. A baby boy was born with 3 penises, 2 of which have been successfully removed, by the way. And that's about it to the story. Sometime this is the thing that can happen, and this is the first recorded case. There have been a few of double penises, including some people who have made it to adulthood with both intact, and apparently they both work. There was one guy apparently who says it works. And
I have no problem with this news story. My heart goes out to this child who was born with this. I'm very happy that it was taken care of and managed through surgery. What I take issue with is the 3 eggplant emoji picture on this copy. I think that's very insensitive.
Well, what else? What would you illustrate it with instead?
I wouldn't.
A picture of the baby? No.
That must have been quite the bris when they removed the 2 other penises.
Oh, no.
That's not what happens at a bris.
I don't know, so people have made it to adulthood with 2 penises, but this kid had 3, so they removed them. I think that proves that anything more than a handful is too much.
It does remind me of the 3-legged jeans commercial from SNL in the 90s. 3 in a leg, 3 in a leg.
I don't remember that, I'm afraid.
A 3-legged
I don't know if you remember the old Godzilla movies. There was like some Japanese monster that he had 3 long heads coming out of him with long necks. I don't know if you remember this at all, but that's what I'm imagining between this poor little child's. I probably shouldn't be imagining anything between this poor. Just edit that part out.
What are you doing imagining a baby's penis?
I don't know. Why?
Not a baby's penis.
Into this moment.
Well, here's a story that will cleanse all of us of that particular thing. Experience: Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina candle erupted in my front room. So did you know that Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop website sold a candle which smells like vag? This woman won it in some kind
Gwyneth
of
Paltrow's vag.
Specifically Gwyneth Paltrow's vag. I think they mostly smell more or less alike, but perhaps I'm wrong. Anyway, so this woman got one in some kind of joke gift, decided to turn it on, light it, and then it exploded, and her living room was covered with vagina scented wax. So
I mean, I don't know if I'm wrong, but like I read the rest of that thing. It said it spewed like a half meter out as it fizzed. It was molten. I think the word was in there. It basically, you guys can speak to this. Is this like a gay man's like what they perceive of what might happen with every vagina? And
I know how vaginas work.
I don't know. You're like, I want nothing to do with them. Sometimes they do that.
I was once given a tour of a vagina. It was very, very nice. I learned where the clitoris was, under the hood. It said hello.
The swimming pool is to the left.
I was at an occasion where very consensually, because I had never seen a vagina in real life before. I was given a tour of a vagina.
You don't have to, just go to Gwyneth Paltrow's website.
Yeah, you can just buy a candle and get the full experience.
I hope that when this vagina candle started like spewing flames and started fizzing out, I hope it also played her duet with Huey Lewis, from the karaoke movie.
Cruising together?
Yes, I really hope that somehow there was like a microchip when like you started to hear a Huey Lewis duet.
Oh my goodness. I mean, when it burns like that, does it create a burnt hair smell to go along with it?
Oh God.
Also, my favorite thing to happen in 2021 so far was when in an interview, Glenn Close came for Gwyneth Paltrow, who won the Oscar for Shakespeare in Love. And when she was just like full on, yes, she shouldn't have won.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was so far. That's the first and only gift 2021 has given us.
Oh, who said that? Glenn Close?
Yeah.
Well,
fair enough. She's earned it. Yeah, I would take Glenn.
Right?
I agree. Glenn Close is a national treasure. So
yeah.
I want to know what kind of vagina candles Glenn Close would sell on her website. I don't know.
She would not, because she is a classy lady who wouldn't do that.
There is no reason.
Yeah.
There is no Glenn Close vagina.
Glenn Close's vagina candle. It will not be ignored.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina candle did a pretty good job of not being ignored itself.
Pretty forward there. All right, so moving on. Here's something which I think we would all like to sign up for. San Francisco rolls out guaranteed income program, giving artists $1,000 a month. I know that's not very much money anywhere, especially not San Francisco, but it would be nice. There's not much else to the story. You have to apply for it. You don't just automatically get it, but it seems like a nice thing that they're doing to help support artists in these hard times where we're all on YouTube and we don't know what the hell we're doing.
So like a year from now, every single resident of San Francisco is going to register as an artist. It's going to be out of control.
Yeah, there you go.
They're all tech billionaires. Nobody needs that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea, and I get the idea of focusing it towards the arts. In places where guaranteed income has worked, though, there's usually you kind of spread it wide and then you tax it back, right? Like a year. So if people are so that you're not paying, because the big expense with welfare and unemployment and all of this stuff is the people who you send out to catch the cheats. So if you don't spend money on that, give it away as freely as possible and then tax it back when people have earned too much money or have entered a new income bracket or what have you not. That actually seems to work well. And then you end up spending less money than you do on social security systems as they exist in most Western countries now, because we spend so much money on, middle class office workers, like people making decent salaries to go out and find sheets, and then getting that back and all the legal services and lawyers and such. What would be just like, I think it's cool. I don't know why they're just focusing it on artists, but I guess
gotta start somewhere. Yeah, it'd be better if they just give it to everybody, obviously, and then like giving it to some people is also nice. But yeah, I think you have to prove that you're doing some kind of artistic practice or have done.
What's the minimum artistic thing you have to do to be an artist in San Francisco?
Well, that raises the question, doesn't it? That's like, yeah.
No, I'm asking literally for myself. I mean, it's like, this isn't just
I don't
hypothetical.
think you can just show up and be like, I think you might have to live there for a little while.
You know what? I'd show up with like a smock with some dribbled paint on it and be like, where's my grand?
Count as an artist, as someone with an established artistic career and a YouTube channel with probably more followers than we have. So, like,
well, that's it. I'm gonna move to San Francisco. Yeah,
for that sweet $1,000
$1,000.
All right, and we always like to close on a high note. I believe last time it was a wax statue of Trump getting repeatedly punched, but this week it's a lot more wholesome. Congratulations to the youngest and first female Indigenous chef to be featured on Top Chef Canada. This is Siobhan Detkovich. I actually am afraid I forget which nation she comes from, but she is living in the Okanagan Valley of BC and will be competing on Top Chef Canada. So best of luck, and we will all be watching.
That's really cool.
Wow.
That's great. Have you eaten any Indigenous food? Have anyone here have bannock?
Well, there's that restaurant attached to the bay downtown, which has some nods to Indigenous cuisine and culture.
But that one's actually all high-end chefs. It's Oliver and Bonacini owns that. There's a restaurant in Kensington Market that's still open.
Oh yeah.
Indigenous owned and operated. There's one in Winnipeg, which was one of the first big ones that was Indigenous owned and operated, and I've eaten there. Indigenous food is fantastic. Bannock is the most delicious thing. Like, it's so good. And Three Sisters soup is fantastic. There's some good Indigenous stuff cooking out there. There should be more. And young women chefs. That's better than the Burger King.
Yeah, that's right. We covered that last time, which was the women belong in the kitchen fiasco of Burger King. Speaking of people who shouldn't do their own social media. So maybe not a way to end on a laugh line with that one, but
It was nice though. We all got to have a little nice moment. Yeah. Now, before we go, let's remind everyone how they can get in touch with our wonderful artists that we had here this week. Martin, how can people find you and your work online?
Well, if you go to YouTube and you type in the words "right now," type in my last name, which is Dockery, you'll see a whole bunch of these shows that I've been doing, as I said, once a month since last August, storytelling shows, and just watch any one of them, or just friend me on Facebook, Martin Dockery. I perform all these shows on Facebook Live, and then I put them up on YouTube. So either way,
they are fantastic.
There's a link to them in the description box under this episode. Actually, there should.
Oh, great! Yeah,
you can also find them that way.
And I actually made a movie too called Right Now, the movie, which, as Adam referenced, I don't know if it was when I first clicked on this camera, but a lot of it takes place in this basement right here. My wife, Vanessa, is Canadian, and she and our daughter went to Canada for 5 weeks. So I had 5 weeks alone here, and I made a movie by myself. So you could watch
it's a fantastic movie. It's pretty funny. And it has, because you also have a very science fiction, we didn't get into that. You have a conceptual magic realism mind as well. And so that comes out in the movie too. A little bit of sci-fi, Kurt Vonnegut kind of stuff. Daniel, where can people find your work online?
I don't put out anything, but
not the podcast.
yeah. I'll occasionally do something funny on Instagram. I'm at Krolik, Krolikd, and the podcast is Bad Game Movies on Instagram, and anywhere you subscribe to podcasts, we're BGM, Bad Game Movies, Bitchy Game Men.
Fantastic. And next, when we come back in 2 weeks, we have Veronica Schwartz joining us from Calgary and Janelle Hanna joining us from Toronto. She does
I
a lot
love
of
Janelle. Yay.
Janelle's very funny. Yeah.
She's
So we're
great.
gonna have them next week. It's gonna be a lot of ladies. This was a very dude-centered episode. Next time we're gonna have a lot of ladies on the show. And Kristin, why don't you tell them about some of the stuff that we've been up to?
Absolutely, Adam. Once again, you can support the show at ko-fi.com/this is the talk show, and I will read anything you put on the air. And you can also check out the Middle-Aged Candy Store, a podcast I'm doing with some friends, a surreal comedic podcast. Adam has appeared on one episode. There's a new episode coming out on Tuesday, which is the continuation of my Pizza Cop serial, which is a police procedural of a force which only investigates pizza-related crimes. And you can also get my new album, A Present from a Small Distant World. It's me singing lots of weird music. It's great. You can buy it. You should buy it. Buy it. And that's all. Adam, do you have anything else to plug? You have a new song too.
I have a song and story podcast I'm going to be appearing on next weekend. And when we come back on, I will put the information up so that people can find the episode that I'm on. But that's
Cool.
it for me. Yeah, I thank you both for joining us today, Daniel, Martin. It was wonderful hanging out with you.
It was fun. Thank you guys so much for having me. Yeah.
Thank you everyone at home for joining us. And Kristin, why don't you sing us out with a song?
Absolutely. So let me turn my keyboard back on. And get my windows all sorted out. Here we go. There we are. So I did dedicate my first song to the boat, and my second song, here we are, is not I guess I'm not dedicating it to the boat, but it's actually about boats. In a way, it's about how sad it is when you see a canoe tied up and it's not getting used. This is La Grenouillère by Francis Poulenc, with poetry by the great Guillaume Apollinaire. Au bord de l'île, on voit les canots vides qui s'entrecognent. Et maintenant, ni les dimanches, ni les jours de la semaine, ni les peintres, ni Maupassant ne se promènent, prenus sur leur canot, avec des femmes à grosse poitrine et bêtes comme choux. Petit bateau, vous me faites bien de la peine au bord de l'île. All right, folks, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.